All right, welcome back. Last video we talked about why AI matters for automation testers, the 4 categories, the big picture. Today we're doing something different. Today is completely hands-on, no theory. By the time this video ends, you will have personally written, run, and debugged a real automated test, and AI will have done most of the typing for you. Here's the promise I'm making you. If you can describe a test case in a plain English sentence, the same way you'd explain it to a coworker over coffee, you can turn that into a working Playwright script. You don't need to already know Playwright syntax. You don't need to memorize selectors. That's the whole point of this video. We're going to use a real website the whole way through, SauceDemo, which is a demo e-commerce site built specifically for testers to practice on. It's not a toy example I made up. It's an actual site with real forms, real buttons, real behavior. So everything you see today you can go do yourself right after watching on the exact same site. By the end, you'll have a repeatable loop you can use for any test case in any project starting tomorrow. Let's zoom out for 30 seconds before we get into the weeds, because I want you to see the whole shape of this before we fill in the details. There are exactly 4 steps, and I want you to memorize them in this order, because the order matters. Step 1, describe. You write down what you're testing, in plain English, not code, just a sentence. Step 2, generate. You hand that sentence to Claude with a good prompt, and Claude writes the actual test script for you. Real, runnable code. Step 3, run. You execute that script against the real application and watch what happens. Step 4, debug. And this is the one most tutorials skip, because tests do break constantly, and this step is about what you do when that happens. You don't panic, and you don't debug alone. You bring AI into the debugging process too. Think of this like a recipe. Step 1 is deciding what dish you're making. Step 2 is having someone hand you a working recipe for it. Step 3 is actually cooking it. And step 4 is what happens when you taste it and something's off. You adjust, you don't throw out the whole meal. We're going to walk through all 4 steps together, using one real example, so you see the entire loop end to end. Let's start with step 1, describing your test case. This is the step people rush through, and it's actually the most important one. So let's slow down here. Here's our example for today. A user logs into SauceDemo with valid credentials and lands on the inventory page. Read that sentence again. Notice what's not in it. There's no CSS selector, no hash username or .btn primary, no mention of Playwright or JavaScript or any framework at all. It's just a description of behavior, who does what, and what should happen as a result. Why does this matter so much? Because the quality of what Claude generates for you is directly tied to the quality of this sentence. Let me show you the difference with a bad example versus a good one. A bad test case sounds like this: test the login. That's vague. Test what about the login? Valid credentials? Invalid ones? What counts as success? Claude has to guess, and when AI has to guess, you get generic, sometimes wrong code. A good test case answers 4 questions clearly, and I want you to check for these every single time. Who is doing the action? A user. What are they doing? Logging in with valid credentials. Where is this happening? SauceDemo. What does success look like? Landing on the inventory page. If you can answer those 4 questions in 1 or 2 sentences, you're ready for step 2. This is a skill, the same skill you already have as a QA tester when you write a manual test case. Now we take that plain English sentence and turn it into an actual prompt for Claude. Here's exactly what I typed. Write a Playwright test in JavaScript that logs into SauceDemo.com using the username standard user and password secret sauce. Then verifies the inventory page loads with the text products visible. Notice what I added compared to our original sentence. I specified the framework, Playwright. I specified the language, JavaScript. I gave the actual credentials to use. And I made the success condition concrete, specifically checking for the text products on the page, not just a vague, it should work. That's the formula. Take your plain English test case and add framework, language, specific inputs, and a concrete checkable success condition. That's it. That's the whole prompt engineering skill for this use case. And what comes back is not pseudocode or a rough sketch. It's a complete, runnable file. Imports at the top, browser setup, the actual login steps, one by one, filling the username field, filling the password field, clicking the login button, and finally, an assertion, a line of code that checks whether the inventory page actually loaded by looking for that product's text. If you've never written Playwright before, that's fine. You don't need to type this yourself. You need to be able to read it well enough to sanity check it, which we'll practice as we go. Step 3 is the simplest to describe and the most satisfying to watch. We run it. You save that generated script to a file, open your terminal, and run your test command. In our case, that's a single line, npx playwright test login.spec.js. And here's what happens. First try, it passes. You'll see output telling you one test ran, and it passed, along with the time it took. The login worked. The assertion held. Green across the board. I want to be honest with you about something here, because it's important pedagogically. This is the easy part. Getting a first pass on a freshly generated script feels great, and it should. Celebrate it. But it's not where the real skill lives. Plenty of people can get this far. The real skill, the thing that separates testers who use AI well from testers who just get lucky once, is what happens in step 4, when things stop working. And in real projects, things always eventually stop working. So let's go break something on purpose and see what that looks like. Let's simulate the single most common thing that breaks automated tests in real life. A developer changes something on the page and your selector no longer matches. I'm going to intentionally break our test by pretending the developer renamed the username field's ID. Now when we rerun our exact same test, it fails. But importantly, look at how it fails. We get a timeout error telling us the locator #username was never found on the page. Here's the instinct I want you to unlearn. The instinct to immediately open DevTools, manually inspect the page, and hunt for the new selector by yourself. That's the old way. Here's the new way. Take that exact error message, copy and paste it. Don't summarize it, don't paraphrase it, and hand it back to Claude with a prompt like, "This test fails with a timeout error on #username." Here's the error. What's wrong? What comes back is usually a clear diagnosis. Claude will tell you the locator is likely outdated, point out that the element may have been renamed. And this is the part I really want you to notice. It will often suggest a more resilient selector than the one you started with. For example, instead of relying on a specific ID that a developer might rename again next sprint, it might suggest targeting the field by its visible label or placeholder text, which is far less likely to change. That's the real lesson of step 4. Debugging with AI isn't just about fixing today's break. Done well, it can leave you with sturdier tests than you had before the break happened. I want to make sure you don't walk away thinking this only works in Playwright, because that would badly undersell what you just learned. Everything in today's video, writing a clear plain English test case, turning it into a well-formed prompt, reading the generated code, and debugging failures by handing errors back to AI. Every single one of those skills is completely framework agnostic. Swap Playwright for Selenium, Cypress, or WebdriverIO, and the only thing that changes is the syntax Claude generates. The thinking process is identical. Here's a quick way to prove this to yourself. Take the exact same prompt formula from step 2, but change one word, say Selenium with Python instead of Playwright in JavaScript, and you'll get equivalent working code in that framework instead. Try that yourself as homework after this video on your own project's framework and see it happen firsthand. Let's lock in what we covered today, because repetition is how this actually sticks. 4 steps. Describe your test case in plain English, answering who, what, where, and what success looks like. Generate the script by adding framework, language, inputs, and a concrete success condition to your prompt. Run it and see it pass. And debug it by handing real error messages back to AI when, not if, something breaks. This 4-step loop is the foundation for everything else in this series. Once this feels natural, you're ready for the next layer. What happens when AI native platforms try to run this entire loop autonomously without you writing a single prompt per test? And, just as importantly, where that autonomy still falls short today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, since new episodes go up regularly.